struggling with writing an impressive essay, for scholarships, writing an essay has a lot of weightage, and that's because they speak for you and they speak about you. So it's very much important that you have a very well-structured essay. For this video, I'm going to talk about study objective. This is one of the essays that's required by Fulbright Scholarship application. And to brief you, Fulbright Scholarship is a fully funded scholarship program to go and study in the US. In Fulbright application, you are required 2 essays. One is personal statement. I have talked about it already in my other video. I'm going to have the link of that video in the description. And the other essay is study objective, which is about your research and what you're going to study there. In Fulbright application, the question is write a clear and detailed description of your study objectives and give your reasons for wanting to pursue them. Be specific about your major field and your specialized interest within this field. Describe the kind of program you expect to undertake and explain how your study plan fits in with your previous training and your future objectives. This essay is supposed to be around 750 words, but if it's less than 750, that's totally fine. For me, I think I wrote like 520 words or something, and it worked. So now looking back at the question, we can actually pick the key words and we can see that the question itself is your guide to write down what is required in the essay. So let's look at the keywords. Here, they are asking you about your major field and your specialized interest. They are asking about the kind of program you expect to undertake. They want you to explain your study plan, and then they want to know about your training, your previous work, and how your future objectives are linked with that. So let's make it easy and break it down into 4 paragraphs. The first one will talk about what do you want to study. I'm going to show you my study objective, and then you can pick the points how I've started it and then how I am connecting all the points together. My first sentence was my study objective is attaining knowledge in the field of water resources and engineering. So I, in my very first sentence, made sure that they know my field. And that's what you have to do. You have to tell in the first sentence what your field is. Point number 2, reasoning. You have to connect your field of study with the reason why you want to study. And if we go back to what I have written, in my essay, I started by saying that the water resources comprises of hydrology and hydraulics, and then I'm talking about what my country is going through. So this is a very good point. If your reason can link with your existing situation, like I have linked my studies with the current water situation in Pakistan. If you can do that just makes your essay stronger, and it really tells that you have the know-how of your field, you know what you're doing, you have adequate knowledge to actually describe your field and the reason that you want to have further higher education. I have written good 11 lines of reasoning. Now you can make it shorter or longer based on your field, but the point to take from this note is that you start by describing your field a little bit, then start by telling the major reason you have been interested in this field, and then, like in my sentence, I have talked about that agriculture is the backbone of Pakistan, and water management is one sector. It needs a lot of attention. And then my major point was, if I do a little bit of contribution in that, I would make a greater impact, because agriculture is then I connected because it's the backbone. Our economy is based on that, most of it. So this gave the whole gist of my field of study with the reasoning. Now comes point number 3, and that is your skills and your expertise. So after reasoning about your field, you have to mention what you already know in this field and what have you worked on, your research, your degrees, your volunteer work, any sort of work that you've done. If we go back to my essay, I started by saying that I was involved in water-oriented programs. One point is that even though I was applying for a PhD program, I made sure that I cover all the important points and I do the timeline where I mentioned from the very beginning how my interest in water resources has grown. So I mentioned about my final year project, which was purely water oriented. So starting from there, then talking about right after my graduation, I became a pioneer of starting a lab in the university, and then how involvement and one thing on top of another just increased my expertise and skills in this particular field. If you notice, I have mentioned about my professor. So this is an important point. I kind of tried to make my essay personal, and I've mentioned this in my other video as well, in the personal statement video. Because that person who is reviewing your essay wants to know really about what you want to study and how you have grown into it. So I would highly recommend you to make it more customized in terms of, I knew this professor who became my mentor and that's how I went into this field. Or there could be any other platform because of which you got interested in this. So it kind of links with the reasoning and then your growth within this field. Now comes the last paragraph, and that is you want to mention about the addition that you will be doing, which is the contribution in the community that you can provide based on what studies you will be getting if you get this opportunity. You have to mention why you are interested in going to the US for this particular degree. So overall, an idea of how this course or this degree program is beneficial for you. So I talked about how this program will be an asset for me to accomplish my future objectives. So I tried to use their keyword in this, and then I talked about joining academia because it's a PhD, which is a full-fledged research work. So I made sure I'm mentioning that this degree is going to improve my research skills, and that is something I am interested in, and that I linked with academia, that I have worked already in academia, and this is just this is a super addition to polish myself in this field. Moreover, I also talked about my long-term plan, which is that I do seek an opportunity to work in a corporate industry or in the development sector. If you look at my last sentence where I talk about building a network and getting connected to relevant departments and then basically having an exchange set up, and this kind of links with the goal, the aim that Fulbright has. Fulbright is an exchange program, so for me to mention this in the essay is bringing in more relevancy. So this finishes your essay, and I have to mention one important point and then I will come to the tips. One important point that a lot of students ask me is, if you are switching a field, would you be eligible? And the answer is yes. You can totally switch the field. Let's say if you were studying anthropology and you want to switch to journalism, you could do that. And this study objective is where you have to prove that you know enough, you have enough reasoning to switch, and why do you want to do it, and then how are you going to make the difference. Now coming to the tips about the essay. First thing, I showed you my essay and not even a single sentence in that was made up. It was true. All the sentences were true to the fact that I do want to do all of that. So whatever I've written is exactly how I foresee my future as of now. So point is, be honest. You have to write what you really want to do and what you really have achieved. The second tip is, you do not have to write fancy words for the sake of it. I have mentioned it in my other video as well, and I'm mentioning it again. They're not looking for fancy words. They're not looking at your vocabulary. in this particular essay, they want to know about your research and your future objectives with it, and that's on which they're going to evaluate you. So leave the fancy words, put all that effort into structuring the essay. One tip is to be specific. So if you take my essay as an example, I was very specifically mentioning about what I want to do, this is the reason I want to do it, and then in the end, this is what I've done and this is what I see myself doing in the future. Last but not the least, write the first draft yourself. Prepare your first draft, no matter how awful it is. Just write it down, just whatever you think, jot down everything that comes in your mind and then improve on that. And that finishes my video about study objective. And do subscribe if you think these videos are helping you. Signing off.